We discussed in the last video in relation to the case of the two executive assistants, 5 important dimensions of role efficacy. The first one is whether you perceive and experience your role to be important, central in the company, in the organization where you work. Second one is whether you perceive your role as providing an opportunity for you to use your capabilities, competencies, strengths, and are you integrated with the role. So higher the integration, higher the role efficacy. Third one is, do you perceive your role as linked to other roles in the organization and outside the organization. Fourth one is influence, whether you perceive and experience your role as offering you an opportunity to influence the thinking of somebody or the other. Influence juniors, influence seniors, influence somebody or the other, providing an opportunity to influence. The fifth one is whether your role is offering you an opportunity to grow, or you're learning and growing. There are 5 other dimensions we have identified in role efficacy. The other important dimension is whether you perceive your role as offering you an opportunity to be proactive, to take initiative, to can make things happen, and so on. So it's possible. I think a lift operator can take phenomenal amount of initiative and look at counting, maintain data and information about number of people getting in and getting out, getting off at each floor, number of people from each one of these offices who are using the floor, and then ultimately help the organizations to compute per employee expenditure on electricity and things like that. I think a phenomenal amount of initiative. If you take the initiative, the lift operator can say, no, that's not my job, and keep quiet. I mean, every job offers an opportunity to be proactive. In the case of the executive assistant, Bombay-based executive assistant, there were a lot of initiatives he has taken. He was proactive in terms of working out systems with the accounts department, proactive in maintaining data about hotels, proactive in maintaining information about the customers who come to see, and proactive in passing on the information, proactive in correcting, I think, when a wrong pricing decision according to him was made, proactive in bringing out to the notice of the boss quarterless book and quarterless theories and things like that. So it's the way you perceive your job. Another dimension related to proactivity is whether your job offers you to be creative, to do things in different ways, to think innovatively and so on. Now, in these 2 cases, we have not seen much of an evidence of how much one could be creative. I am sure in the second case, the person may have done some creative things, but we have not inquired much about that. So on that point, we cannot comment on the Bombay case. However, we can say that we did not find any creativity in relation to the first one. The 8th dimension is the extent to which you find your job to be providing an opportunity to achieve superordinate goals. Superordinate goals are goals which are not ordinarily available. When you are working for a larger cause, like a larger country, or eradicating a particular kind of a disease, or making contributing to the GDP of a country, etc., etc., or making mobility of people through whatever devices you use, superordination. So you may be performing an ordinary role, but you can say that I am performing this role for a larger kind of a goal. I'm sure you all remember the quite often quoted case of a person who is laying bricks. While one person said he is constructing a wall, the other person said he is bringing peace on earth, because he is laying ground for a temple, because whatever he is doing is going to lead to a temple where people come pray and get peace on earth. So it's a very interesting, the same role, but one perceives as creating peace, the other perceives as constructing a wall. I think this is the way you can bring superordination. If you want to enhance your own superordination in your organization in relation to your role, find out who are the ultimate customers or people to whom your the products of your organization or services of your organization are going to reach. So this is a very important kind of a dimension. Another ninth dimension of the role efficacy is if you perceive your role as providing an opportunity to help others, help somebody or the other. Closer to superordinate goal, if you think that your job helps you to eradicate poverty, or you help somebody else in your own department to be able to do a better job and so on, so it's both linkage as well as help. So whether you perceive your role as offering you an opportunity to help other people and so on. The last dimension, the 10th dimension, is whether you perceive your role as providing an opportunity to solve problems by identifying them, confronting them. It is called as confrontation. So thus there are these 10 dimensions which include centrality, integration, influence, growth, linkage, superordination, proactivity, creativity, help and confrontation. Now it's not necessary in a particular role you should find all the 10, but if you can find all the 10 dimensions, that means you have a high sense of efficacy. If you can create every role in a way through either the way you structure it, the way you have processes and so on to help each person to perceive this role as efficacious, then you are likely to get the best out of that person, and the person also is likely to feel very enthused to do the job. Well, there are two issues that I like to answer in this part of role efficacy and then close it for the time being, and at a later date we may pick up each one of these dimensions and spend a few minutes on each one of these dimensions to reflect and work out mechanisms to enhance them. We said role efficacy is the way you perceive your job and the way you experience your job. And we also said it is possible, whatever is the job that is given to a large extent, for you to perceive it as efficacious. You create your own role. You make your own role. You perform your own role. So it is possible that if you take charge of your role, for you to make your role as more effective by developing a sense of efficacy. There is an interesting thing that we observed in our experience of working with organizations. We observe sometimes people who feel their role as very effective, that means who have a high sense of efficacy. They feel they are central, they feel that they are helping others, they feel they are doing a large number of things. Sometimes run the risk of not letting their juniors have high sense of role efficacy. This is what is the risk of a very extreme sense of role efficacy. You are so efficacious, but if you don't only mind your job, you don't only look at your role, you are all the time could become a kind of a dictator and say that I am a great influencer, I am working for larger goals, I am central, etc. But take away all the role efficacy from your juniors. So this is a caution. The important question to ask here is how to have a high sense of efficacy and how to promote a equally high sense of efficacy among your juniors, particularly among your juniors. Leave your colleagues. Boss, of course, you can leave because it is the business of the boss to feel efficacious. So how do you do that? This is an important issue for all managers to ask. How do I make my juniors, every one of them, feel central? How do I make them to feel that they are using their knowledge? Can I have once in a while a chat with them? Can I pass on these 10 dimensions to them and ask them to rate themselves and see what are the areas where I can ask them to improve? Am I helping them to grow? Am I helping them? Am I giving them opportunity to influence? Am I giving them opportunity to perceive how whatever they are doing is linked to others? Am I giving them an opportunity to take initiative, be proactive? Am I giving them an opportunity to be creative? Am I giving them an opportunity to perceive the larger goals for which they are working and confront issues whenever they take place? So I would like to suggest to every manager that it is your job to be efficacious and to promote efficacy among your subordinates. And you can promote this by once in a while having discussions with your juniors on these 10 dimensions, getting them to have even develop a questionnaire. Some of these questionnaires are available in a book by my colleague, late Dr. Uday Parikh, Handbook of Instruments, HRD Instruments, which in recent times has been worked out, have been made available through Sage Publications by Dr. Uday Parikh's daughter, Dr. Surabhi Purohit. You go to Sage and put the name of Handbook of Instruments for HRD people, you will get this. There are many of these tools that are given which can be used by any line manager on their juniors, and have discussions around this, and have self-renewal, role renewal kind of workshops. All that you need is about 2 to 3 hours of time once in a while, maybe once in a quarter, once in 6 months, to discuss, get up people to write about an essay about their own kind of a role, or answer a role efficacy questionnaire, share the data and discuss about it, and work out mechanisms on how do we make our roles more efficacious. It's possible. If you are interested, you can do a lot of things to enhance role efficacy in your department, in your organization, whether it is a GO or an NGO or a corporate sector, it doesn't matter. It is possible to create a high degree of role efficacy. After all, ultimately, role efficacy is a matter of feeling, and I think feelings are subjective and they can be developed in no time. All the best from TVRLS for a successful development of role efficacy in your company and among your colleagues.